We've been talking about the console market changing. The competition is in a very interesting place right now because if we go back and look at what is going on, we can see that Xbox has positioned itself in a way that the only way I could describe it is that PlayStation envies to be in that position. Now, if they don't envy that position, the best we can say from their own accounts is that they are threatened by that position. And by and large, I think this leaked document from 2023, when Insomniac pretty much got that hack, unfortunately, showed us some of the threats that they were afraid of come the next 3 years from today. I've seen people try to dismiss this document, even though the document is looking at a 2027 possibility. And basically, most of the core of what the document was kind of looking forward to actually just happened in October, which was Call of Duty going to Game Pass, Microsoft's capability now to have subverted the console business by only depending on the box, but being able to supply games on PC and also to be able to supply games as well via subscription. Now, when you point this stuff out and when you're talking about this, I think there are some shared beliefs that have, in a sense, come in to pollute the conversation. They're not genuinely pointing to exactly what is going on in the industry when it comes to Xbox. Instead, you hear things like this audience member of mine said, unfortunately, Xbox not competing is going to make PlayStation worse. Now, usually I don't mention names of content creators in, these conversations. However, there is a content creator that's supposedly a professional in the industry and in terms of insider conversations who actually has said this, and I heard it over a clip on one of their own videos. They actually put this stuff out on Twitter themselves. And this is a person called Colin Moriarty. And they said, Xbox just has not competed. They haven't shown up this generation. And then he said something in that video that I thought was interesting. He said, if anybody can actually map it out for me as to how Xbox has been able to come into the competition this, particular generation, let me know. So I said, awesome. He put out this particular thing to the public. But something is also worth of note to us to say here. There are people who walk around with this particular belief. And like I showed you this comment from this audience member, Dante19890, shout out to you. You said, unfortunately, Xbox not competing is going to make PlayStation worse. But did you ever, in a sense, consider that inside of PlayStation, they actually realize not only is Xbox competing, that PlayStation, are behind Xbox? The one statement that continues to signal this is that Sony says this. Sony's pillars are already dated and behind the competition. I think what's going on is you have a traditionalist view of how console competition works, where back in the day, you had your favorite console that had its own exclusives that made it unique to you. So now that the ecosystem is starting to drop that paradigm, you don't necessarily see it as competition anymore. And I've met a lot of folk and I've had conversations. We've had some, interesting threads go on the channel with people who actually carry that particular, point of view. And so I basically said, how is it Xbox's fault that PlayStation is already worse than it was? Because you guys know that PlayStation right now has taken a severe downward trajectory in the value proposition that it brings. The PS5 Pro is basically an overpriced piece of hardware. When you look at its price to performance ratio, at least now we've compared it to, in some situations with an RX 6800, 6800 XTs. There's some, comparisons coming out, and looking at the difference to a PS5, a lot of people on the PlayStation side, myself included, I got a PS5, are not convinced to go ahead and get this console. Then most of the games that have launched this particular year have been quite weak. Their third-party stronghold in terms of their pillars is already weakening, seeing more and more, third-party publishers say, we want to go our own way. Xbox is doing its own thing. Xbox is basically, in a sense, going around the console paradigm and increasing the amount of people that it can actually sell software to. But this is being misinterpreted. At this point, it's pure and sheer, dishonesty that anybody would say that Xbox is not competing. Xbox is not hawking consoles that are basically, subsidized pieces of hardware that lose you money. So if Xbox is not wanting to go ahead and take the approach to lose money, they're not competing. How, counterintuitive is that? Or do you not know that Xbox loses up to $200 on every console that it sells? Do you not know that? Or is this something that is new to a lot of folk in the industry, that they say this stuff and they're not aware of what they're talking about? Microsoft loses up to $200 on every Xbox console sold. They're not even selling as much of them, so they've decided that they're going to go find another way. And somebody says that they're not competing when they basically bought the biggest game in the whole world and put it on a subscription service, and someone says they're not competing. I mean, you have to really, in a sense, maybe not know or purposefully close your eyes to that reality. And so they replied and said this. They said people vote with their wallets. So obviously, when they are buying PlayStation, it has a value proposition that they're willing to pay for. That's fine. You can't help what somebody wants to pay for. You can't help what somebody wants to do. The same could not be said for Xbox, who is struggling with console sales and are forced to eventually abandon the console race and focus only on digital distribution. Ladies and gentlemen, let us parse this statement. This statement is absolutely a lie. You said they are forced to eventually abandon. The word abandon will mean forfeiture. Unless I don't know English anymore, or unless we don't know English anymore, then we would go with abandon as the base, I don't know. We'll go with some definition of abandon that you may have in your minds. And then they said this: focus only on digital distribution. How can somebody say two false claims in such a short period of time? I am quite amazed. Only on digital distribution. Ladies and gentlemen, this is all in the face of Xbox actually being in a position where they've said, oh, we're making another console. In fact, what's crazy is the hardware market even talked about Microsoft having a position where they didn't even want to select AMD, but were eyeing Intel as the developer and the maker of the next generation of console. So this is on the chip manufacturer side. This is on the business side in terms of the big picture. This is not anybody talking about, stuff in the console space or whatever. No. We're now looking at it from the hardware side. This was an alleged thing. Then you also have Sarah Bond coming out and reaffirming that they are working on the next gen console and it's already on the way. Then you also have Phil Spencer coming out saying that they're working on, Xbox handheld of some kind, but it's all the way out. And somebody said only digital distribution. I think what's going on is you guys wish that Xbox would actually do this. So you say it as if it's a prayer and as if it's a chant. And this is no offense to anyone, but over and over, we go back and forth with this particular paradigm. In fact, I saw somebody put a comment on the channel. I thought it was kind of weird. This person actually is a content creator. They were like, oh, I subscribe to your channel, but I unsubscribe because, you only take these comments that one or two people say and you make a video about them and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, I blocked them because that's a shameless plug for their channel. They put a shameless plug for their channel and tried to blast me for actually making content that is pertinent to the audience members on the channel, which is weird, isn't it? But I think they noticed that there is a pattern. And the reason I make many of these videos is because there's something I want to show. For months, I was getting a lot of people actually come in and say things like these. And people didn't believe that there were people saying stuff like that. They thought I was making it up. And so what I want to do is I want to ensure that we have a large body of evidence that shows that there are a good number of people that actually believe this stuff. And we also want to show that there is, or at least there are sources that are feeding this stuff to a lot of people, that's encouraging them to actually deny what is right in front of them and pursue a belief system that is just weird. What's even crazy is if anybody says this stuff and they're like, okay, where's the mid-gen refresh? They did a mid-gen refresh. They literally came in and they did like these new hardware devices. They put a 2 terabytes in their Xbox Series X. They made a white version. They did a new Series S version. They dropped them all out there. They even had a picture. Somebody even leaked a picture of Gabe Newell, Phil Spencer, Jeff Cayley, all in a video call where the leak started to talk about, oh, there's a possibility of a handheld and it may feature Steam. There's all of this brewing in the horizon, and somebody can say they abandoned this. It's really interesting, guys, where we are. And again, like I said, I'm here to make videos. So, what better way than to actually showcase this thing in 2,000 videos if necessary? We're saying the truth. You see, a lie can spread very fast. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to push away lies and eventually get to the truth. And I think that's where we are right now, where we're having to push for the truth in the face of everything that is going on, the lies that are being spread, and so on and so forth. So if you're, in a sense wondering when is this going to stop, bear with me. We will eventually have to get to a point where, we look back and say, well, we knew they were lying, but the truth is now, in a sense, a material reality. But along the way, we have to ensure that we are documenting and we're talking about it so that people can get informed and that they're not misled. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Appreciate y'all so much. Peace out.